Welcome to day 3 of the CoinGeek conference. I would like to say hello to everyone tuning in at home, as well as everyone who is able to make it to the conference. My name is Patrick Thompson, and I am here in Zurich on the ground with our roving reporter, Charles Miller. Charles, let's take it over to you.
Well, thanks very much, Patrick. Now, there's an ugly rumor doing the rounds on social media, and it is that CoinGeek Zurich isn't in fact in Zurich at all. It's held in a big room in one of Calvin Ayre's houses. And we have to disprove that. And to do that, we've come up here to the roof of the hall, and I've invited fearless, independent journalist Eileen Brown to join me to confirm that we are, in fact, in Switzerland. Would you go along with that?
I love the fearless bit. Yes, I am in the land of chocolate, cows and coffee for the very first time. I've never been to Zurich before, and it's lovely. Very impressed.
Right, and I mean, people are going to, I know what people are going to say. They're going to say it's amazing what you can do with backgrounds on Zoom and stuff these days. They've just painted that in the background, but we can smell it, can't we?
Certainly can. It's lovely here. There's no pollution, and I can certainly smell the coffee.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
I would love a cup of coffee.
Well,
Now?
before that, I'm going to give you something, a local souvenir to also prove that we're here, and we'll go with your coffee.
Oh!
Very Swiss.
Lovely.
And
Thank you.
in order to have that, you have to wear a Swiss hat, I'm afraid, as I will.
But it's not raining. Is it a rain hat?
It's to keep the sun off. And we will also be able to fly the Swiss flag, which may make you think we're in the Eurovision Song Contest, but we're not going to sing. Or would you like to sing?
I can if you want, but I do need a coffee first.
No, I think we'll go and have the cup of coffee. So there we are. We really are in Switzerland. I hope everyone's going to believe that now. Back to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you, Eileen. And I am here in the studio with our two very special guests, Marc Geiger and Bryan Daugherty, as well as our co-host, Claire Celdran over in the Philippines. Claire, what have you thought of the conference so far this morning?
Yes, before I get into that, I just have to say what a lovely background, Charles, and I love all those props that you have. I wish you can get me one of those hats maybe and send it over. Well, anyway, it was a great conference this morning. Earlier, we saw a presentation from Weather SV and their announcements to move to its next stage, allowing users to monetize from the data contributed to the platform. We also heard from Smart Systems and how blockchain technology can be used to record water quality, something that can help improve lives of people, not just in developing countries, but around the world. There was also an interesting and relevant discussion on cybersecurity and how blockchain can help mitigate cyber crimes. And we will be talking more about this here on CoinGeek TV in a bit. Patrick?
Thanks, Claire. So, Marc, before we talk about the intersection of banking, finance, and blockchain and digital currency, can you just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure, yeah, with pleasure. So I'm a partner at IBM Global Business Services. That's the consulting and services division of IBM. And we basically help our clients to transform in any shape or form. So it goes from strategy implementation, business strategy implementation, all the way to optimization and everything that has to do with technology, implementation of disruptive technologies, and of course, blockchain is part of that.
Right. So, you know, the blockchain and digital currency industry is relatively new. So how have banks and businesses been warming up to this emerging technology?
Well, that's quite an easy question with a difficult answer. Yeah? It depends, really. It depends heavily on the subsegment that we're looking at. I mean, banking is so diverse, and bank doesn't equal bank. Are we looking at a small cantonal retail bank? Are we looking at an internationally operating private bank, a universal bank like Credit Suisse or UBS, or central banks, as we just heard in the panel? And all of these subsegments, they have different speeds. And in the end, it really depends on the individual, on the decision makers, of how innovative people are and how embracing to change and new technologies these decision makers are. And we see tremendous differences.
You bring up a really good point when you say embracing the change. So how do you feel banks and legacy institutions, how willing have they been to implement or even try out these solutions?
I would say slow, very slow. But I mean, you also have to understand where banking is coming from. And banking is so much about trust and about confidence and the fact that you have to be able to protect your data and to be secure, etc. And banks for decades and centuries have been very closed communities and very inside focused, inward focused. So if you tell them now to suddenly open up, share data, believe in a technology where you ultimately don't have the feeling anymore to actually control the data and be physically in control of it, it's a leap of faith you have to take. So it's also legitimate that it takes a while to embark on this journey.
Right, and it sounds like there's a couple hurdles and obstacles that may need to be overcome before we do get to a point where legacy banks and financial institutions are more comfortable with blockchain and digital currency. What would you say some of these hurdles are, and do you have any ideas how they can be overcome?
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, the technology is quite complex and it's not so easy to explain. But ultimately, the biggest challenges is not the technology. It's really the governance and it's the reputation or the psychology around it. Because, first of all, you bring people together on the blockchain. So it takes the organization, the orchestration of partners, of new partners coming together. These partners potentially have been competitors before. And again, as said before, banks are not really very used to do that. So it takes a leap of faith to believe in your partner and to believe in the technology that actually that orchestration works well. And then the question is, how can we sell it to the public? How can we sell it to the audience? And banks need to learn how to communicate what they're doing internally and also what their new products that are using the new technology, how does it work and what is it good for? What is in it for the end client? And that narrative has not really been established yet in a perfect way.
And let's zoom out a little bit. So maybe 5-10 years down the road, where do you imagine blockchain and digital currency is in relation to banking, finance, and all sorts of business processes?
Honestly, that's a question many people would probably pay a lot of money to have the answer to. There's various scenarios. And when I look at how banks work and when I look at the clients, at the end clients of banks, especially across those various subsegments, I believe the human factor will play always a significant role. And therefore, often technology will be an accompanying element, but sometimes it will be the driving element. So probably we will see also some kind of segmentation where we will have strong technology-oriented institutes and others where just the human element maybe is more predominant and therefore also disruptive technologies don't have to be pushed so heavily in the forefront. So probably we see quite a dissemination in the market and much more little pockets.
And if there was one sort of general takeaway that you would want the audience to know after maybe viewing your panel today, as well as, businesses, banks, and all sorts of players in the finance industry, to know about blockchain and digital currency that they might not know at the moment, what would that general takeaway be?
Well, I mean, a lot has been said about the business aspect of blockchain and how to improve the business and how to get into new markets and make money out of it, etc. But I think there's one element we maybe need to consider in addition, a bit more on a global scale. 1/3 of the world's population is still unbanked. And especially in times like with COVID and climate change and social inequality, etc., sustainability has become a huge buzzword in the industry, in the banking industry and in general. And I think blockchain can really play a role to also reach out to areas of the world that are underbanked, where not many banking clients nowadays exist, and to bring this element of honesty and trust and prove that actually you can believe in what is told to you, what is shown to you. And I think we have to look also at that horizon and not just what is the next business opportunity in our existing market.
I agree with that. I look forward to the increases in efficiency as well as transparency that I believe blockchain is going to bring to the world. And now, Bryan, this morning you moderated a panel about cybersecurity. Claire, what were your thoughts on the panel this morning?
Well, Patrick, I thought it was interesting what Danny from WebSafe said. He's worked in cybersecurity for 20 years, and he mentioned that cybersecurity problems have gotten worse. So it would be good to know how blockchain can help mitigate these problems. Also, Dean from BitPing said something which struck me. He said, Bitcoin can incentivize honesty and can help us rethink the internet. So I enjoyed it. It was an informative panel discussion. And now, as I mentioned earlier, we will be talking more about this. Let's bring back Bryan Daugherty from the Bitcoin Association. Hi, Bryan.
Hi, Claire. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Bryan, what's the current state of cybersecurity and what type of cybersecurity problems are we seeing today?
Well, it doesn't take much looking to kind of discover what's going on. I mean, just pretty much every single day in the news, we're hearing about a ransomware or we're hearing about another cyber attack, and they seem to be getting much more much more complex and wider spanning. When you think of the SolarWinds attack, where that not only infected, 18,000 customers, but you have to imagine all of the networks that those customers have. They have vendors and customers that, access that network. So they're just as susceptible to having, malware or, what these hackers were able to do with God mode to basically take over and control an entire network, shut down an oil pipeline, or, basically shut down 1/3 of the meat industry here in the U.S.
Right, that's not good. So what do you think? Can blockchain solve these issues?
Absolutely, and it's interesting if you take a look at the NIST cybersecurity framework. Bitcoin kind of checks off all of those boxes as far as everything from asset management, endpoint security, recovery, alerting, and even pretty much every aspect. And if you take the same example of the SolarWinds attack, one of the first things that hackers do is they go on and they remove the instance of them breaching your network from the access logs. So if you were just to take an immutable log of your network access, whether it's IPs, whether it's actual people opening doors to controlled substance rooms, or anything that's on a network, you could put in an access log and have an immutable record of that, to where it's not about prevention anymore. It's really about detection. And where the hackers in SolarWinds were able to sit on this network for almost a year and a half before anybody ever detected it. That's a major problem, especially when, it infected almost every aspect of our defense, right? And we may still be reeling from the effects of that original attack. And that's why you may see, more and more of these attacks, to where, they still don't have an overall dollar figure as far as what that really costs, and not just resources, but monetary costs to reboot these networks and start to secure them. And there's no guarantee that they're secure.
Right. Now, let me gear away from that for just a second here. Yesterday, you moderated a panel discussion on a much talked about topic in recent months: blockchain, energy consumption, and its environmental sustainability. Based on what you've gathered in the discussion, is Bitcoin eco-friendly?
Absolutely. I think if you tuned into the panel, I think it was pretty distinct to show that utility matters, right? And scaling equals sustainability. So, as you kind of compare these protocols and kick the tires of the technology to see how beneficial or efficient as it is, that's when it comes down to throughput, and that's when it comes down to the infrastructure, the plumbing that takes place to allow, transactions and data to, not only be managed but monetized and built with proof of work on top. As far as the energy discussion goes, I think what we need to do is have an honest discussion about it, and to have an honest discussion, especially in something about, such as climate, climate control and environmental sustainability, you have to have facts. And I think it's really unique that BSV particularly has the unique abilities to solve the ESG problem compared to every other industry that has the same problem. Everybody is using energy in some way or not. And, when you start comparing it to the overall financial system, I think as, we start having this discussion, start pushing forward, more facts will come and more discussions will happen.
Bryan, you mentioned proof of work just now. In your discussion, I remember you saying something about, you said that Ethereum where there are talks that Ethereum would be moving towards proof of stake and whether that is a better solution. What came out of that discussion? How beneficial is proof of work?
Proof of work is key to actually authenticating the data and the consensus mechanism of BSV. The problem with proof of stake is that, it's not based by one CPU, one vote. It's based by, ownership, and one or two people could actually control an entire network versus having an incentive to have skin in the game and to actually mine and transact in an honest manner. And I think proof of work is pretty much the standard that we'll be moving forward with. There's really no option for proof of stake and authenticating the consensus mechanisms.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bryan, for sharing your insights with me this afternoon. Patrick?
I want to ask a question to both of you because it came up a bit earlier and it's extremely important and trending topic at the moment, Bitcoin and the environment. And, the environmental inefficiency that I think we currently see in the industry is a big problem. So, Marc, for those who don't know, maybe you just want to give an overview of what that issue is.
Well, there's many different layers, many different dimensions to the issue, and of course. There's energy consumption, in general. To what extent is the technology consuming energy, and how efficient is the energy being consumed? And then more on an aggregated level, also, of course, the more that efficiency is being brought to the game, and the more that processes that are happening and processing that is happening within enterprises is being improved and can be made more efficient, of course, it becomes more environmentally friendly. But that's just one dimension. The other dimension really is to bring to light and make, and I liked the word honesty before, to make all these value chains, especially the ones that are directly linked to the environment in any shape or form, to make them more transparent, to make issues more transparent, to bring certificates to the game, and to make those certificates visible, so that in the end it becomes visible what is going on and what are the facts, really, the underlying facts. And the more this becomes visible, the more we can optimize.
And Bryan, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin and the environment?
Great question. I think what is overlooked is the variables that are at play. So, my biggest concern with Bitcoin and the environment is the miseducation and misunderstanding of the protocol level and how important it is, for how blockchain is incentivized to work, and I think a lot of people overlook, that concept. But as far as the energy consumption, I don't think, as I mentioned, I don't think we have had a really honest, discussion about that. And what is needed is a base model or formula to really take in consideration, the value that we're attributing towards that discussion. So, I think it's important that we start, really looking and formulating and working with people outside of the industry, whether it's, energy producers, whether it's banks, to really start to develop, independent audited, papers that actually have some value rather than just kind of a talking point, which is really what I've kind of came across over the last few months, is really just technical papers that are out to make a point.
I agree with that, and I think what's positive about it being a trending topic is solutions are going to have to appear. This is something that is on everybody's radar, so I'm interested to see what some companies in the space do about it. Now, we have a long afternoon of great presentations coming our way, and I'm wondering, Mark, is there any presentations in particular or maybe a speaker that you're looking forward to seeing today?
To be quite honest, I haven't learned the whole curriculum of the day by heart. I haven't had the opportunity to be here the whole 3 days. I just pretty much arrived before noon today, so I'm very much looking forward to take the whole atmosphere and the great content in, actually pretty much for the first time now. So to get started in the conference, although it's already quite late in the conference.
And Bryan, how about you?
You know, honestly, this has been one of the most powerful conferences. This is my third one I've attended in the third continent, and I can tell you that, you know, the caliber of people that are able to attend here due to, you know, the COVID situation are amazing, and the speakers have been amazing, and, you know, I'm really interested in the keynote speech tonight. You know, every year it's amazing, so I can't wait to hear Dr. Craig Wright tonight.
I agree with that because I'm also looking forward to the keynote myself. It's featuring Anne Grigg, Noel Robini, Nassim Taleb, and Dr. Craig S. Wright. And Claire, I'm wondering what presentations you're looking forward to this evening.
Well, exactly my thoughts. We're all sharing the same idea here. That panel discussion with Jimmy Nguyen and Ian Rigg and Dr. Craig Wright, they will be talking about Bitcoin and digital assets and where should real value come from. So that should be really interesting. And like I mentioned yesterday, excited to hear from Nouriel Roubini, a highly respected economist, and the outstanding author Nassim Nicholas Taleb. They will both be delivering a keynote speech later today. So watch out for that. Patrick?
Thank you, Claire. Well, as we wrap up this episode of CGTV, I would like to thank Marc Geiger, Bryan Daugherty, Charles Miller, and Claire Celdran for sharing their thoughts with us.
Reimagine the world's financial system. One built on being simple and fair, not one that's overcomplicated, outdated, and broken, and keeps a quarter of the world's population from accessing it. Reimagine your own finances. Do you have full visibility and control of your assets and investments? We believe there's a better way, a new future for financial services. One built on equal opportunity, where possibilities are limitless, not limited, and everyone can live the life to which they aspire. At Fabric, we're weaving a better future of finance for the billions locked out and the billions locked in. A safe, open, and fully transparent financial ecosystem built on innovative technology, where anyone can transform, hold, trade, and grow their assets, all in one accessible place. But this journey isn't ours to take alone. Are you ready to join in? To reimagine a better future with us? Where everything is digital and anything is possible. Fabric. Reimagine prosperity.
data is double-edged. Wield it well and build your place in tomorrow. But trust it blindly and risk watching your progress crumble. Because much of the data we rely upon isn't reliable at all. At nChain, we believe in data, but we put no faith in it. Instead, we build tools that enable enterprises to trust the data upon which they rely. nChain, data without question.
Is greatness really just for a chosen few? For prodigies? For superstars? It's not planned. It's experienced by those with great support and some resilience. For those that strive to go to the edge once more, pushed and guided with excellent support. Support that provides groundbreaking technology by and for those that know it's all about velocity.
Imagine in 1997 paying for something with your watch. Remember the last time you used cash? The world has been digitized. Almost.
Cash was once seen as the last bastion for reform, but now is on the decline. Digital transactions have outcompeted hard currency since 2017 in the UK, but breakthrough bold technologies like blockchain have revolutionized more than just money.
Disruptive technologies call for disruptive lawyers, ones that don't just accept the trend, but find new ways of interpreting the law. We are currently the only global law firm with a real track record in the area of Bitcoin and blockchain. We are results-driven and care only about securing the best possible result for our clients.
We trace the supposedly untraceable. We pioneer the future of law. We deliver new solutions. We are law changers.
The biggest sickness in healthcare isn't a disease. It's not a bacteria or a virus. It's the silence. See, the data we need to combat diseases, to stop suffering, it's not waiting to be uncovered. It's stuck behind closed doors in stubborn silos. The healthcare industry has the data to improve our lives in untold ways, but no one communicates. And in that silence, countless lives are lost. That's why at EHR Data, we're building the largest ever shared data set of human health. And it won't belong to a hospital, government, a corporation. It will belong to the rightful owner of your healthcare data, you. We're merging healthcare records with blockchain to finally put you in control. Because your data doesn't belong on private servers. It should be in your hands in service to your health. The greatest sickness may be silence, but the silence stops when you have a voice. EHR Data. Own your health.
Different backgrounds, diverse geographies, and disparate experiences can all inspire ideas that lead to breakthroughs. And with blockchain, we've barely scratched the surface on its potential. So what's next for this breakthrough technology, and where can it take us? That's where you come in. Learn to leverage your creativity and harness the power of blockchain technology to tackle the biggest challenges of today and opportunities of tomorrow. Discover how you can make your ideas a reality with BSV, the only blockchain that scales unbounded, offers a stable platform with world-class security, and the support of a global community of experienced, knowledgeable developers. Join the 4th BSV Virtual Hackathon, and let's build the future on the blockchain.